Chapter 15. The dead dog opens its eyes. The Song family's manor occupied dozens of acres, making it look like a small village. The buildings in the south were mainly used to welcome guests. There were servants living in the Westgate area, and the Song family's residence was in the north. The warehouse and street businesses were in the east. In the middle was a small square where the family held activities. It was also the place where the family's martial arts practitioners usually practiced. The gradual decline of the Great Jin dynasty in recent years, coupled with the corrupt imperial court and all kinds of natural and man-made disasters, resulted in rebellions happening in remote areas. Some people just outside Silken City even turned to banditry and made a living plundering others, in order to protect their businesses and the safety of their family members. The Song family had recently recruited many experts from the world of martial arts to guard the house. These people were all energetic and fierce. They all wore green martial arts clothes and formed a circle on the martial arts arena, looking quite imposing. Except, they all did not look very good. In the area they surrounded, there was a large pile of dead dogs of different colors. They were mainly black, and many of them were wolf dogs. There were more than 100 of them, and all of them had died from bleeding from their 7 orifices. Frankly, they were quite similar to these dogs, except that the dogs kept watch at night, whereas they mainly kept watch during the day. Now that the dogs were dead, they were in danger. Behind the circle of guards, many maids and servants whispered with fear in their eyes. I heard that these dogs weren't poisoned to death. They died very strangely, and we can't figure out the reason at all. I'm afraid there's really something unclean. The old gatekeeper who died yesterday also died like this. I don't even dare to go to the latrine alone now. Weren't black dogs supposed to ward off evil spirits? Since even the black dogs died like this, there really are unclean things. Sigh, I am only here because I am still indentured. Otherwise, I would have ran away in fear. At this moment, a group of people walked over. The middle-aged man, who was mildly fat with a goatee and was walking at the side, widened his eyes and shouted at everyone. All of you, shut up. These dogs died from the plague, and so did the old gatekeeper. How can there be anything dirty? Everyone immediately and silent and did not dare to say anything else. The Song manor was a big family with very strict rules. The status of servants like them was inferior to even the wolf dogs of the family. If they dared to contradict this head butler, who was in charge of all the maids and servants in the Song family, they would be beaten up. The head butler, Jia Yiqian, who had just stopped everyone's clamoring, restrained his stern expression in the next moment. His expression then changed as he bowed low and said respectfully to the person beside him, "Eldest young master, do you think we should start burning these infected dogs?" The person who the head butler Jia had just bowed to was the eldest son of the Song family, Son John. He was a tall man in his 40s. His face was cold and his eyes were deep. He looked unfathomable and had a cold and dignified aura. Okay, let's begin. Let's resolve this as soon as possible. Don't let this matter spread. Son John nodded slightly. Suddenly, he sensed something and turned to look away from the square. As soon as Son Chi and Xiao Mei arrived, Son John stared at them sharply. "Seventh brother, you still don't have basic etiquette. You seem to not know how to greet your elders." Son Chi cursed silently. He hated the formalities of the ancient world the most, especially how scholars preached it, where they had to greet formally every time they saw someone. He said reluctantly, "Big brother, I just did not want to disturb you from burning the dogs." "HMPH, it's just burning a few dogs. Why are you not hurrying up in your preparations for the spring examination next year? Why did you come over?" Son Jiang's expression was cold and his gaze was soul-piercing. "To watch the show." Son Chi replied calmly. He didn't want to argue with his big brother in the past because he did not have any backing or support. But now that not even death will face him anymore, what else was there to be afraid of? Son John was slightly stunned. This seventh brother of his actually dared to talk back to him. He looked at Son Chi coldly. "You're still so stubborn. Did you go to the New Moon brothel again yesterday?" "I went to discuss life with Miss Sewer." Son Chi's words made many maids blush, while the servants secretly laughed. "Useless," Son Jiang mocked. "The Song family doesn't raise trash. In 2 years, you'll be an adult. If you don't accomplish anything in the imperial examination, you can scram to the countryside to be a farmer." "Big brother, You're not the family head yet. Don't interfere in my matters." Sun Shi's expression was cold. He had been targeted by Sun Jiang and all of the members in the main branch for a long time. The reason was because his mother was a side concubine from the main branch, where she was doted on by the old master and hated by the main mistress. Even when his mother had died of illness, she did not give up on targeting him. If not for the fact that the old man still paid attention to him, he would not have been able to grow up normally without any issues. Previously, he had tried his best to avoid Sun Jian or give in to him, but this guy had been pestering him for a while. Did he really think that he would endure it all the time? Alright, so after you've been to the brothel a few times, you have gotten bold. Sun Jian's eyes flickered with ruthlessness as a cold smile appeared on his lips. Brother, why are you fighting with a Papinjay? It's better to deal with the dead dogs quickly. It stinks. A crisp and strong female voice sounded from the sky. Then, a figure wearing a yellow dress actually fell from the roof lightly, as if she was weightless. It was a woman in her 20s. She had a ponytail, phoenix-shaped eyebrows, an oval face, cherry lips and a beautiful appearance. She had a smile on her face and was wearing a yellow dress with purple gold boots. She descended from the sky with a golden sword in her hand, which she used to tap the ground a few times and landed steadily in front of everyone. It's Miss Jia. Miss Jia seems to have made some progress in the psychic sword set. She must be quite successful. Ordinary people would have fallen to their deaths from such a high jump. The cold Sun Jian immediately revealed a gentle smile. Jia, you're back so soon. Didn't I tell you that you don't have to come back? My family is in trouble. How can I ignore it? Moreover, Master said that incapable enough to travel the martial world alone. If something happens to my family, I will make a trip. Sun Jia turned around valiantly. Her tone was like that of a Jianhu girl. Sun Shi pursed his lips. This woman actually came back. Unlike him who studied literature, Sun Jia had been found to have high martial arts talent. Since she was young and was sent to the Psychic Mountain in Bozhou to learn martial arts. Now, it seemed that she had learned something. What's with that look? Are you looking for a beating? Sun Jia's senses were very sharp. She felt his glance and looked at Sun Shi unkindly. Are you going to burn the dog, or not? Sun Shi was impatient. This pair of siblings was not letting him off. Was there going to be no end to this? I haven't seen you for only a few years, but you've really become bolder. Sun Jia liked to beat Sun Shi up since she was young. As for the reason, it was because her mother often said to her ears that Sun Shi was a scun and a B****. She hence became influenced and hated him as well. Jar, don't be angry with this trash. Sun Jiang waved his hand. Let's begin. Petrol and firewood. Jai Kan called for the servants to pour buckets of tung oil on the dead dogs, then piled up dry firewood on them. Just as the servant came over with a torch, a dead dog that was originally motionless suddenly trembled. Then, it opened its eyes and stared at everyone blankly. The most terrifying thing was that the eyes moved extremely strangely, as if they were alive. Swish, swish, swish. More dead dogs opened their eyes, their bodies trembling as they got up. This made the maids closest to them scream and retreat in fear. The servants were so frightened that their faces turned pale. The other person beside Sun Jiang blocked in front of him warily. A thin saber as thin as a cicada's wing appeared in his hand. Clang! Sun Jia pulled out the sword in her hand and prepared herself as well. Read latest chapters at wuxia.world.site only. What's there to be afraid of? The dogs haven't completely died from the plague only. Hurry up and light the fire. Sun Jian's scalp went numb. The servant holding the torch trembled and threw it away. He then retreated in a panic. Whoosh, whoosh. When tung oil that was added with dry firewood came into contact with the fire from the torch, it burned fiercely.